All right, I want to call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I'll ask you to bow with me in prayer, and then we'll have the pledge to the flag. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord, and the many blessings that you've put before us and given us. Lord, the biggest of all being salvation through your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, we just ask you to be with us during this meeting, lead us, guide us, help us do the things that's right, pleasing in your sight. And Lord, I just ask you to watch over and take care of the people here in Simpson County. And Lord, we just thank you for all things that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we got some rain, now the sun's shining, and it feels pretty good, and it's good to have a little rain. But we got a lot of it when we didn't get any, and now we got a lot. Gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the minutes of our July 19th regular fiscal court meeting, I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
Motion made.
Got a motion by Nate. Second. Second by Scott. Any question, discussion, revision? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, we had a request to help get the school resource officer program kind of up and going. And there was some negotiating from what it would actually cost and take to do it. And so the request has been made that the county would appropriate $54,000 to help get the school resource officer program up and going. This will help get a resource officer in all 5 school campuses. And Sheriff, I believe, do you have people ready for all 5 now?
We're still in the process.
Still in the process, but
Our ultimate goal is, yes, to have a school resource officer in every school.
right.
We're well on our way. Recruiting and finding 5 POP certified officers to be able to do that is a totally different matter. But my belief is we will be much stronger than last year at the beginning of school. I don't want to go into too much because you do involve school security with
Right,
that.
right.
By October, we should be even in better shape. But hopefully, halfway through the school year, we should have 5 officers. I believe we'll be 3 to 4 starting school.
Well, I appreciate your effort in getting that together. I appreciate the school's commitment to doing it. And I know they made a request from us and the city. I have not talked to the city manager or the mayor, but I would assume that the city will help get this program up and going also. So, thank you,
sir.
So anyway, we would need a motion and a second to approve this $54,000 appropriation to the school resource officer program.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Nate. Any question or discussion?
Is this a one-time thing?
Yes, it was a one-time request.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, we're going to take a look at, in talking with the school superintendent, we're going to take a look at and review like what actual costs have been through the first half of the year up to Christmas break. And quite honestly, and I don't think it's any problem in sharing this, I mentioned it to the superintendent. I may have mentioned it to some of you guys. I think after we get that assessment halfway through the school year, we're going to look at working with the industrial authority and the chamber to reach out to some local business industry to see if they want to help be a sponsor to this program over time. Because, I mean, it is going to be some cost, and especially, and the sheriff would know this better than any of us, or as well as any of us, if you get retired officers, there's one cost to it. If you get officers that are not retired and you have to get them POP certified and pay their insurance and all the other things, there's about $30,000 a year difference in what those officers would cost. So it may depend on, at some point, it may depend on how many retired officers we get what it would really cost to operate the program, so. But yes, this is just a one-time request for the county. Any other question, discussion? I think we had a motion by Myron and a second by Nate. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we need to authorize the advertisement for bids for Sheriff Department trucks for the SRO program. They're just authorizing the bids for it.
Oh, I so move.
Do you want to speak to it, Sheriff?
Yeah, it's
We-
really two parts. I need to that.
Well, I got a motion by Marty. Do I have a second to the motion? Myron's got a second. So we have Marty and Myron, and then we'll have discussion. So thank you, Sheriff.
Are you ready for
Yes,
discussion?
sir. Absolutely, sir.
Yeah, I'm not asking y'all to buy anything. Y'all have already talked about giving money to the program, which goes to the school. They're funding the program. Trucks are extremely hard to find. I've found a couple of trucks. I need to get some vehicles for the school resource officer program. That's the behind the scenes work, is finding the officers, recruiting officers, getting the equipment, doing all. It's like setting up a new small police agency. I do need a few vehicles. I've got some vehicles we're going to be using. I still need to get a couple. That's coming from the funds at the school. The place I found trucks, honestly, you call anywhere, you can't get trucks. You can't order them. I did find a dealership that's got a few sitting on the lot that are exactly what we need right now. However, they don't have the state contract for trucks. Therefore, I have to bid them out. Their price is lower than the state contract price, and it doesn't mean they're going to get it. That's the point of the bid process. But right now, the guy knows I'm interested in them. He knows we're going to advertise for bids, that he's going to put in a bid. So to get this ball rolling, I need to do that. The second part that kind of goes with that, and again, I'm not asking you for money, but I kind of am here. We sold back when we had our auction, we had a unique thing. We had a couple of pieces of military equipment from what's called the DARMO program. Those are not owned by the county. There's very specific things in what you can and can't do. The pieces of equipment that we had that we sold in the auction, we were allowed to sell because the agency owned them, not the county. We could sell county stuff too, but we had to turn the money over to fiscal court on that. The two pieces of equipment that we sold, we had never done it before, and honestly, it's kind of a weird thing. So we held the money in our auction account until the auditors came in so that we could talk to the auditors to see the proper way, what would flow best for the agency. It's not much, it's like $3,500 and some change, call it, 3516, thereabouts. What I'd like to do is give that money, this is what the auditor and I talked about. He said the flow would be, take that money out of your auction account, now you've talked to me, turn it over to fiscal court and see if they can line item it back to you so that you can use it for what you were going to. We wanted to buy some emergency equipment to kind of go with these vehicles. That's what I'd earmarked the money for, but I knew not to spend it until I talked to the auditor. So that would be the second part of this conversation.
So basically, take that, put it in your vehicle line.
I want to take it out of my auction account, hand it to Nicole, and have Nicole line item it back into our vehicle item to buy some emergency equipment.
How many trucks are you talking about? Because they just two?
Yeah.
Okay, so will you have to get more later if you're getting five? How many school resource officers will it be? I know we have Bart right now, but.
Yeah, there'll be a total of 5 officers, one at every school.
Okay, but you need 2 trucks right now, so do you have 2 extras for the other 2?
There'll be older vehicles, but part of the program we've encompassed is the school, there is an assessment for vehicles each quarter, and that will allow us to do a 5-year rotation on vehicles. So they're buying 1.5 right now by the money that will be funded to us. When I say 1.5, that's just the way it calculated out. But yeah, there'll be a 5-year cycle of vehicles.
Okay, all right. And of course, all the newer vehicles, I would assume you're gonna keep on the road and you're gonna keep all your older vehicles at the school.
But the beauty, it's good for the school and it's good for us. What we've worked out, we will get better vehicles for the sheriff's office in the long run, but we're up fronting some vehicles for the school. It's a wash.
Right.
We're saving money for the school and the taxpayers and the people by taking a couple of old vehicles instead of selling them, using them for the school. And in the long run, over the 5-year cycle, we'll be able to get those vehicles replaced with new vehicles that will actually be in our fleet. And it's a good wash for the both of us.
Okay.
Saves them money, and in the long term will help us a little bit too. There's a give and take to both of us there.
So do you need, after we get through with this motion, do you need a motion to
Yes, to
put that money?
allow me to turn over $3,500 from my auction account to fiscal court and have it line item back to me in my vehicle equipment.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to advertise to bid. Marty made the motion, Meyer in the second. Any other question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So it sounds like now we need to have a motion in a second to authorize the sheriff to pull that $3,500 plus from his auction account and basically bring it to fiscal court for Nicole to do her treasurer job with. So moved. Got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Nate. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review setting the tax rates for the 2022 tax year, the options that are before us are the compensating rate goes from 10 to 9.7. Still haven't figured this out because they've done the same thing last year, but it doesn't calculate to 4%, but that's what they say in their DLG calculations. To the compensating plus 4 would be 10 cents, which is what our current rate is. To put it into perspective, we have budgeted almost $1.4 million in property tax revenue. The compensating rate would generate almost 1.5 million, and the compensating plus 4 would generate about 26,000 over 1.5, 1,526,000. So the options are you take the compensating rate and we're good, we go. We take the compensating plus 4 and we'd be at 10 cents, which would be unchanged from the current tax rate, but it would be subject to a public hearing. And I don't think anyone would be interested in doing this, but if you take anything above the compensating plus 4%, not only do you have to have a hearing, it's subject to a recall.
Correct.
So the things to think about are today, this minute, today, taking the compensating rate doesn't kill us, and it's great as long as the economy stays strong and property values stay up. But when the property values decline, you can't make the tax rate up fast enough to generate the revenue back.
The way I look at it, and I've always wanted to keep taxes as low as possible, and we're not. If we stayed at the 10%, at the 10, we would be at the same tax rate. And if you look at the difference in the numbers, that's about $46,000. We
Yeah.
just authorized to give the school
$54,000.
$54,000. So, you know, there's not, you know, lowering taxes is always good. But before we had raised, the reason I thought we should lower the property tax, we had raised the occupational tax, we created the water meter tax, and we had done some things of that nature, so I was in favor of lowering that. I'm not gonna try to make a big stand on it one way or the other, but I feel comfortable leaving it at the 10. But it's totally up to what fiscal court wants to do.
Yeah.
And that's, if you've had a increase in your value of your property, that is a tax increase. But if you haven't had an increase in the value of the property, it's not a tax
Well,
increase.
by the time the PVA goes through their 4-year cycle and hit every property, I'm going to imagine that every property owner is going to see an increase in value. Because the PVA is tasked with reviewing property every 4 years. So basically 25% of the property, it's not broken down just like that in percentages, but it's by sections, however that works. But basically every 4 years your property gets reassessed. Now, that doesn't mean that every 4 years your property value is increased. It just means you get reassessed and your property could be the very same. You know, I guess the last time we really seen property values take a hit was probably 2008 and 9, but they've rebounded quite well since then. And I don't really have a strong, I'm not going to strongly encourage one way or the other. I wanted the court to kind of hear what's going on. Bear one thing in mind too, and we talk about this every year during the tax setting season. When I say we started, because we all started at the same time with the exception of Marty. When we all started, the property tax rate was 10.5 cents. And now it's down to 10 cents. And Marty is correct, we made a 0.25 cents, we made a 1/4% increase in occupational tax, but we've made a 0.5% decrease in property tax. The one thing we also need to bear in mind is that 2.25% of this 10% goes directly to the health department.
Right.
Now, the one thing we could thank the sheriff for is you take your assessments, because we don't, the health department doesn't work like the other taxing districts, if I'm understanding this correctly. On your county tax bill, you have a state tax, a county tax, ambulance tax, library tax, school tax, extension office tax. You have 6 different lines on your county tax bill. Everyone gets their county tax bill and says, man, you guys at the county are really raking us over the coals. No, if you just read the county line, we're pretty good. You add all the others together, and it does make it a pretty enormous tax bill. But the county part, what we're setting, is pretty good. And when I say the sheriff's done a good job, you said the collection rate this last year was almost close to 99%. The point of that being this: when the PVA gives us our assessed values, the health department takes that assessment times 2.25 and sends us a bill. So we pay 100% of the, I mean, it's, and like the others, like if the ambulance or the library board, they're only going to get whatever the sheriff collects. If the sheriff collects 99% of the taxes, they're going to get 99% of their revenue. If the sheriff collects 99% of our revenue, we're still paying 100% of it to the health department.
Right.
If that makes sense. So effectively, the county tax rate that the county gets to maintain currently would be 7.75. Because we're obligated to the 2.25 to the health department.
I don't have any problem with leaving.
But
the tax
it's
rate.
whatever you guys want to do. I'm
Just leave it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
It's like you got a consensus, Judge.
Good with what?
Yeah, so I hear all 4 of you
Leave it
say
at 10.
leave the tax rate
Yeah,
unchanged at
yeah.
10 cents. Just have a motion and a second.
Motion made.
Got a mo-
Well, are we gonna?
Yes, that's right. We will need to do that by ordinance. Hang on.
220.242.
Tell me that number again.
220.242.
220.242?
Yes.
And we'll also have to, we will have to set a hearing.
Yeah, we will have to set a hearing.
That's right.
What are we obligated to advertise, and will we be able to do that by the August meeting?
We're too late for this week's paper. Next, get it into the 11th for the paper. That wouldn't be enough time for the meeting on the 16th, so we have
So we need to set it for the first meeting in September.
to, the hearing.
Do what? The hearing, which would be
The 6th.
the 6th, okay.
After Labor Day.
Now, one thing that we're going to have to do, because media, both news and social, will be saying, oh, they increased the tax rate 4%. No, we actually left the tax rate unchanged. So we need to make sure that people understand, we did not make a change in the tax rate. We didn't increase it. It's the same as it was last year. And y'all have heard me say this several times. You know, and I do agree with Marty. Believe me, I hate paying taxes. I probably hate paying taxes as much or more than any human being on the face of this earth. But the cost of operation, there is a cost to operation. And once we figure out what is really a fair rate to be taxing, if you generate more revenue because property values have increased or added to, which that's another reason we see some increases, because we probably have 2,000 houses on the tax rolls, on the property tax rolls that weren't here a year and a half ago. So you start adding people and adding more, there's more cost to taking care of everything. So, anyway, that being said, we would need a motion and a second for enacting ordinance number 220.242, setting the 2022 property tax rates at 10 cents, which is unchanged from the current property tax rate.
You already got it, Nate.
We had Nate made the motion. Who seconded? Did anybody second
I
it?
think Scott did.
Did you second it? Okay, so we had a motion by Nate, second by Scott. Any other question or discussion?
This is considered first reading.
This is considered first reading of the tax rate ordinance. Second reading will be after public hearing on September 6th. All right, with an ordinance, we'll do a roll call, Pam.
Nathaniel Downing,
Yeah.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. All right, a few items that didn't make it to the agenda, we had some late arrivals, is to review and approve a Kelwell price increase.
Do we need to set the
Oh, yeah,
watercraft and
yeah.
motor vehicle tax?
So we do have to establish the motor vehicle and watercraft tax, and it's still, the DLG calculation is still unchanged from where it was last year. It was 16.1 last year, it's still 16.1. Is that all part of the same ordinance, or?
That's the way we've always done it. Real property would be the 10 cents, personal 10 cents.
All in one ordinance?
Watercraft and motor vehicles, 16.1, and aircraft is 10.5.
So we need to amend that ordinance to include the watercraft and motor vehicle at 16.1, and I guess have a motion and a second to that amendment and a roll call on that amendment.
Let's just rescind that one and
You
start.
want to rescind it? Is that what? Okay.
I'd rather have it all in one.
Okay.
It's just a cleaner way to do it.
Well, this will be a first. I don't know, how do we rescind a
Or do
motion,
we-
Counselor?
What you do is you move and second to rescind, take a vote. If you have an affirmative vote, it's rescinded. And then you take it,
Well,
make your.
I'm gonna move to rescind it, means he moved to approve it.
All right, so we got a motion by Marty to rescind the previous motion due to a lack of full information.
Right.
And Myron seconded. All in favor of rescinding that? Aye. Okay, now we need a motion and a second to approve tax ordinance 220.242, setting real property tax rate and motor vehicle and watercraft tax rate, each unchanged, property at 10 cents, motorcraft water vehicle at 16.1 for tax year 2022.
Did you put personal property?
Personal property.
So move.
Nate will make that motion again. Second. Scott will second again, and Pam, I'm sorry, but we'll do a roll call one more time.
Nathaniel Downing,
Yes.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes.
Once more with feeling.
Okay. All right, now back to some late arrival items. A Cal-Well price increase we were given. I received that note on Monday, August 1st. The jailer's not here, Brent's here. Evidently, here's how we come to know about this. Cal-Well sent an invoice to be paid, and it was increased, and our account manager, finance officer, called to check on it. I guess the jail had received a notice, but we didn't get notification of it here. We didn't know what was going on. And so we said, we need notification at the courthouse. We're the ones holding the contract. Here's the question at hand, gentlemen. It's about an 8-cent per meal increase, which is roughly $27,000 a year. Their contract does make allowance to make that increase, but it has to be with 60-day notification, according to the contract. So they're asking for it to go back, paying from July 29th, I think was the date they're asking for, but according to the 60-day notification, it couldn't be effective until like, I don't know whether there's 31 days in August and 30 days, so it'd be like September 29th.
I don't know anything about that information because, I had worked with them, and I stayed completely away from that. And, I did not receive that notice, so I didn't.
Yeah.
And also, when I was reading the contract, it said that the maximum they can increase it by was the CPI for the food away from home index. And when I looked it up, that index amount, I just Googled it, but it was nowhere near the amount of increase that they're asking for. So we need a lot more information on this, or I would, before I could vote for anything. When I go back, I went back and read the contract.
And
So
like I said,
don't-
we just got the notification at the courthouse yesterday,
Marty, Mark, what was that number?
0.9%.
Yeah, from May to June, it was 0.9%. And what they're asking for is way more than that.
So, I mean, I'm good to call and talk with them and ask them what's going on, and also make them aware that we didn't receive notification here till August 1. And that whatever this what's it called?
Food away from
Food
home.
away from home.
Consumer Price Index.
Yeah,
That I had never heard of until.
yeah. So, I mean, is that good? Let me
Yeah, I
call and
think
talk
you
to
need
these
to
folks
do
and
it.
check on it and find out exactly what's going on, because it doesn't, I mean, we won't make this change till, it can't be effective till September 29th, according to the terms of the contract. I mean, they have to give a 60-day notice.
I mean, do we need a counselor to look at that, or?
I mean, I'd suggest letting, Judge, you call them. And, if things get persnickety, then obviously you know where to find me. But let's
Hope it don't get persnickety.
hope it doesn't get persnickety. Let's try nice first. Dad said it was always easier to go from nice to jerk than from jerk to nice. And so.
Well, I'm glad to know I'm the nice one and you're the jerk.
Absolutely. Except he used a different, more colorful term that I'm trying to do better about.
Do we need
We'll just table
not
this.
vote on it, but
Yeah.
we won't pay them the increase, right?
Well, I mean, even if we voted today, I mean, the increase, according to the contract, that we have to have 60-day notice of any price increase.
So I think probably, if I had to make a respectful suggestion, is that, you make a call and see what happens, and if it's something that we can bring it up either next meeting or the one in September, If you need to get me involved, you get me involved.
If we need the jerk involved, we'll get him involved. I say that with all love, Sam. You said it, though.
I understand. I'm just saying, we try to do things, because sometimes
Right.
you get the lawyer involved and everybody gets their hackles up.
We don't need hackles up. We don't need persnickety or hackles up.
Both are bad.
Either one.
Both are bad.
All right. Okay. We'll table that until the next meeting. Next is, we had a vacancy on the library board through the end of this year. So we have someone that's been approved to fill that vacancy, Ashley Scher, which would fill the unexpired term of Tommy Joe Hall, which would end 11/1/2023. So we just need a motion and a second to place Ashley Scher on the library board.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And then another late arrival was authorizing an extension to the city annexation of Grace Road. If you look at the map that they sent, there's a 30.05 acre tract of land that comes down from that curve. I think it was highlighted on the paper. That piece of land, the property owner for that 30 acre tract of land has requested to be annexed to the city, and the city has requested to extend the annexation of Grace Road down to that piece of property. So what we would need, if we're willing to make that extension, if y'all recall, up to where the highlight is, we've already approved city annexation of that road, which what that means is the city will then now be responsible for the maintenance and care of that road.
So the city has this right here now?
No,
It's over here.
the city
yeah,
has the road, scroll that down a little bit. Here's Grace Road from 100, and the annexation is already to that point right there.
Okay.
And that
It
this piece,
appears that this landowner has either sold to that developer or another developer.
or has intention to do so.
Yes.
And that's a conversation that has been at the forefront too. And just so I'm explaining this because I want the public to understand something. If a landowner owns a piece of property that is contiguous to city limits, and they request that the city annex them, there is not one thing we can do as county government to stop or halt that annexation. If John Doe Public has a piece of property contiguous to the city limits, I'm correct, aren't I, Sam?
That's correct.
And they make a request at City Hall to be annexed into the city limits,
That's between them and City Hall.
yeah,
We're not a party to that.
yeah. And so what's happened is this landowner has made that request, and then the city has requested that we extend the annexation of Grace Road along that 30 acre tract of property.
I'm going to move to approve.
So, okay, along with the motion to approve, it would be to authorize the judge to sign the annexation consent and so on and so
Yes.
forth. So Marty's made a motion to approve that extension, or the annexation extension, I guess would be the better way to say it. So we need a second.
So do we close part,
You
part
know,
of that road now won't be the obligation of the county, so how do we?
It would be handled just like Steel Road, which is somewhat discombobulated, but Steel Road, when you turn off the 31W to just past Cracker Barrel is a city road, and from Cracker Barrel and beyond is a county road. So basically, at that point, where that 30 acre tract of land is, from that point out to 100, the city would be responsible for maintaining that road, and from that point out to Rapids Road, the county will still be responsible for maintaining Grace Road.
Second.
So we got a second by Meyer, and any other question or discussion? And just so the public also knows, there's no loss to the county from this. Actually, it's a gain because now we're no longer obligated to maintain that road. So. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That wasn't a very enthusiastic aye.
I don't like seeing all the farmland cut up and put into subdivisions no more than anybody else does, but, that's why I've always said the only way to control a piece of land is to own it.
Yep.
So these people, I've heard people say it's greed and all that. It's not greed. I mean, if somebody has something and they price it and somebody else buys it, that's just business. It's capitalism. So,
Well, and the one thing we cannot do, or I would sure hope no one ever suggested this, we cannot limit the sale of private property.
no.
I mean, in no way, shape, form, or fashion can we ever do that. Nor should we.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, next is cash transfer of $100.51 from the federal XYZ CBD fund to the general fund. This was just a little remaining balance that was over there in that XYZ deal that's completed and done with, and it just needs to be moved to the general fund.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Nate. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Gentlemen, the next item has been pulled. There's no longer a need to make the cash transfer from the general fund to the jail. Next would be budget transfers. If you had an opportunity to review those, we need a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers.
So moved.
Motion by Nate,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, if you had an opportunity to review the bills and claims, we need a motion and a second to approve those claims as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Nate. Second. Second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to approve the order of allowance to the Board of Assessment Appeals.
That's not on there.
It's not on there, but that is the money paid to the people that have that meeting on the Board of Assessment. And I think it's $100 per person.
It's in your claims.
It's in the claims, but it's
Yeah.
not broken down by the individual. I think it's $100.
$100
Yeah,
per
it is.
person per day they meet.
Yeah.
There weren't any challenges or appeals this year, so
That means
basically
they're done.
they're done. That was done like last week.
Yeah.
And it's listed on page 2 of the 6, and it does break it down per individual at $100 each.
But we have to have a separate motion to approve that order of allowance to the Board of Appeals.
We pay the full amount.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
It's statutory. That's
Yeah.
their required salary.
Yeah.
So moved.
Yeah. Got a motion by Myron and a second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, gentlemen, reports. We talked about last month that in the first meeting in August, we would review the employee stipend for gas. And I think the discussion was as long as fuel was gasoline, not diesel, but gasoline was above $4 a gallon average, we would do that stipend. Thankfully, I think we're well below the $4 gallon average, so I'm assuming that that's the end of that unless we see a spike in fuel again.
That was how it was voted on.
Yeah.
So if we need a motion to terminate that,
I don't think so. I think by its own language, you don't have to do it
Okay.
this time. And if it, God forbid, we have another spike down the road, it's already in place and you can do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Cheapest I've seen so far was $3.22 in Franklin. I don't know if there's anywhere cheaper, but I've seen $3.22 on one flashing sign. Just want to acknowledge our IT guy, Adam Wilshire. He volunteered over the weekend with Red Cross to be over in Eastern Kentucky and help them get a few things set up and done. And so we appreciate you going over there, Adam. We really need to keep those folks in Eastern Kentucky, especially Knott County area, pretty devastating what happened over there. One thing, the director of the health department came by, met with me. He's got a list, and I didn't count the items here, but it's 25 items of things they're going to be doing to the local office out here. One of the things, two things actually, repair or replace the flooring and replacing the lighting to LED. He has made a request to see if the court would make a consideration of covering half of the cost of those two items. Now, we don't have a bid on them yet. He just wanted me to bring that to your attention, and he would bring a price to us. So we'll look at it. The only other thing I have is Friday, August the 5th, which will be this Friday, the Chevrolet Club of America's 60th anniversary is going on, and their main meet is in Bowling Green, but on Friday the 5th, about 10 o'clock, up to possibly 200 vintage Chevys will be parked around the square and over at the old Franklin Favorite parking lot as the group of people come and take a tour of historic downtown Franklin. So if you're an old car lover, you want to get out and walk around the square, should be plenty here to look at come Friday, about 10 o'clock.
Will it be any for sale?
I'm sure you could talk them out of one day. All you have to do is flash that wallet open. You crack that wallet open, and
Well, I'm out there.
You show them your money, I'm sure you can get it.
Yeah. So just, there's something interesting happening downtown. They're going to tour the old jail, the history center, and just some things around town. Be neat to see. What did you say? If Myron pulled his wallet out, moss and dust would fly out?
Yeah.
Is that what
One or two, Mike.
yeah. Myron, do you have anything?
No.
Scott? No, sir. Nate?
No report.
Marty?
I think we were talking about the people in Eastern Kentucky. I've seen some posts on Facebook, and I'm sure Bob can get you with someone if people want to make donations to send over there. I've seen, bottled water, gloves, shovels. I've seen a whole list of things. So I'm sure that there will be somewhere in the county you could donate to send supplies over there if you need to.
And just so you guys know, Bob and I have discussed this yesterday. They haven't yet, unless they have this morning.
I haven't yet,
But Bob asked if they make a request to have, additional emergency management director help, was it okay for him to go? I said, absolutely, because if we were in that situation, we would like help from their people.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw online the parks are doing something, they're collecting stuff.
Okay?
Yeah.
Very good. Counselor? I didn't want to cut you off.
Brent, can you come up here a minute, please? I've got a contract handed to me regarding Combined Public Communications, LLC. This involves issues with letter writing to the people writing letters to inmates at the jail. In recent years, and I told the judge this, if people use this much innovation and effort into legitimate purposes, we'd be a lot better off, but they're finding new and improved ways to smuggle contraband into jail through the correspondence. And this is a means of addressing that. Brent, would you please go into a little more detail?
Yes, I'm sorry, we didn't get that till yesterday afternoon, but I got to share it with Mason briefly coming up the steps. But what we've experienced is people taking paper and soaking it in drug-laced water, and it comes in as legal mail sometimes as regular mail. Exposes our staff, because we open up all the regular mail, exposes our staff to possible fentanyl contamination, things like that. Of course, it brings drugs in the facility, and we're always looking to fight that. Using this process, all except legal mail would be sent to an off-site location. The material would be scanned, and it would be placed on the kiosk for the inmate to read on the kiosk, so they would have no touching of the actual mail itself in our facility. We still have to handle legal mail the way we do, but this is a service that our communications partners have offered us at no cost, and we would like the court to sign this addendum and make it safer for everybody involved.
And the legal, I'm not gonna lie, about a year or so ago, we had someone who, it looked a little suspicious. It was legal, and the envelope looked like it came from a law office of a legitimate lawyer, but it didn't seem like it was somebody, one that does one of these, and the jail contacted me, and we contacted the lawyer's office and said they did not represent this person, they were communicating with this person, and apparently this is what they were doing. But unfortunately, attorney-client correspondence, you know, that's constitutional. You got to be able to contact us, communicate candidly and privately with your client. But if we can find, my recommendation is if we can find a way to get down, you know, whittle down a lot of the outside stuff, then I think that's what we need to do, particularly as it doesn't seem to be costing us anything. As I said, I wish they'd use this much creativity and, you know, effort and legitimate purposes.
So you need a motion to authorize the judge to sign that?
Yes.
Sign the addendum to the current contract.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Nate. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor, anything else?
So Judge, do you have a copy of this?
Just this
Oh,
copy here.
okay.
Yep, I'll hang on to it.
By all means. To answer your question, Judge, is no.
Sheriff, you have anything? No report. Anything else from the jail?
Numbers today are 290 to 215 state inmates. Of course, we're on hold right now with the COVID that we've had. They won't allow us to bring anyone in until we clear that. A few meetings ago, we discussed what we're going to have to do with those contracted employees or contractors that we had, and it was decided, I think Sam pretty well sufficed it saying that they couldn't afford the insurance, so maybe the best thing was part-time salaried. We've now received all the termination letters from Sam. We're ready to proceed forward with that. So I think Nicole and I have talked, and she's going to figure out the difference in what we need to send over for commissary to cover those additional costs, and we'll take care of that when we do a budget amendment, just whenever that happens to be. And then the specialty deputy that we wanted to do the same thing with him and hold him at a rate not to exceed $3,600 a year.
I think that one's going to have to be a separate discussion from the others,
Okay.
because that one is a completely different situation.
Okay.
And I explained that in great detail to the jailer.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry he's not here. He had to be in probate court this morning, so
Yeah.
you got me instead. And I wasn't privy to that conversation, so.
Yeah. So I guess are you asking that a decision be made on that at this meeting?
Well, if we can, I'd like to move forward with it, but if not, then.
So gentlemen, what has happened is, I guess all of the individuals that have been contracted to provide services directly to the inmates are going to have to be they're either gonna have to carry some kind of insurance, which they evidently can't afford or probably can't afford, or they're gonna have to be made part-time employees, but their salary be equal to their contract price. But for them to get salary equal to the contract price, there is associated cost with that jail has said will cover out of the commissary. So there's essentially still no cost to the county budget. I mean, the general fund, it's still all covered out of the commissary. But the one employee that is part-time, which we had established that, and this is what I explained in great detail to the jailer. And Sam, you were there, you recall that I said this one would have to be handled separately and would take action of the fiscal court. That's exactly what I said to the jailer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the request is that they have a specialty employee to be paid a salary of $3,600 per year.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $3,600 per year.
And-
Well, at any rate, we had voted and established the hourly rate of part-time hourly employees at $15 an hour. And I'm not sure how many hours this employee's averaging now, maybe 1 to 2 hours per week. But you would have to average 4.5 hours per week, 52 weeks out of the year to get to $3,500 at $15 an hour. And so anything we do with this employee is going to be, it will have to be dealt with down the road budget-wise if we move forward with this request.
Would that money, my understanding is that money would also come out of the commissary?
No, sir, it's not legal for us to do that
It's
out of the
not-
commissary.
yeah.
It would have to come out of the already budgeted part-time line item.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could figure out a way to do it out of the commissary, I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
Just can't
so I
figure
guess
out
the question at hand is, we either take no action and leave it as what we've already set and established, or we would need a motion in a second to approve that contract up to $3,600 a year for one specialty
It's
part-time.
not really a contract.
Well, the
Yeah.
paying of a specialty employee up to $3,600 per year salary.
Well, or just let him pay him what he was paying him and cap it at $3,600 a year, so he can only get whatever he uses. I mean, I think last year it was $1,600 or something like that.
But he's considered as a part-time employee.
Part-time hourly employee.
You know, there was plenty of time through the budget process for this to be addressed. And there wasn't anything mentioned about this until after the fact, after the budget had went through 2 readings. So myself, if he's a part-time employee, it's $15 an hour.
I 100% agree. That's what we all agreed on.
Any other discussion to it, or is that?
Will the jail budget, is there money in the jail budget to cover this
Yes,
by what the fiscal court approved?
yes.
No.
It's tracking over right now.
It's currently tracking over. We established the number of employees and what their pay rate would be. We also established that part-time hourly be rated at $15 an hour, and that's how that budget was structured. As Myron said, as we went through the budget process. So any change or increase at some point during the year, I mean, the answer to the question, is there money in there right now? Maybe, but it is tracking over. But the point being, at some point during the year, it's no different, and we said this, we have to establish maximum salaries and pay for the sheriff and the clerk's office every year. And this action was no different. for the jail.
And
So any change would reflect a change. I mean, any increase would,
we'll have to do some kind of budget amendment for the jail, if that comes through.
Mhm.
Because we've got that money budgeted in a line item.
Yeah,
You know, if that increases $25,000 or $26,000 a year, we'll have, that'll be a major change in the budget right there.
yeah.
Currently, we're sitting in a spot where we've never been before. We've never been to the point in August where we've never moved a penny to the jail. And we hope to continue that throughout the season. It's just like the 25,000, you know, when I saw that when Nicole, you know, we budgeted additional funds to come from the commissary. If we can do those type things and keep from doing transfers, we're happy to do those. It's our intention that we try to get by this year with no funding from the county, which is something that's never been done here.
I mean, that'd be great if it can.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an expectation of that from anyone on this court.
And I do want.
And I don't think there's any pressure from anyone on the court for that to be the expectation. I think we fully aware, we budgeted, what, roughly, was it 500 and some thousand, 600, whatever it was, to transfer in. I mean, we understand there is cost.
Okay, but we hope not to have that cost. Things are tracking real good for us right now. And on a personal note, I think y'all made a very good decision on your tax rate. I don't want that to become a football for people, but I think that was very appropriate and well thought out.
So we can do a motion on the current ones, the current consultants, I guess is what we were saying, consulting contracts to be paid out of commissary. We could do that today if we need to do that, could we not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would have to be by motion to hire those because we didn't count the number of employees. So I guess we would have to by motion approve the hiring of part-time jail consultants. I guess that's what they.
I'm not sure that we capped the number of part-time employees when we did that.
We didn't cap the number of part-time employees. We just said they would be paid at $15 per hour.
So if you didn't cap the
But,
numbers.
but we did have the $15 an hour set at a certain number of hours per week that we would establish.
And some of these will, if we were to pay them $15 an hour, they would well exceed what they're.
Yeah. And another conversation is, as the attorney would note, that I told Eric, if we need to have a conversation about the hourly rate for part-time employees being bumped from $15 an hour, that's a fair conversation. And here again, you correct me, but I think this is exactly what I said to him. I think that's a fair conversation, but getting the court to agree to pay any part-time hourly employee an additional $8, $9, $10 an hour over whatever we're paying the other part-time hourlies is going to be a pretty hard sell on the fiscal court, and understandably so. Is that basically what I said?
Pretty much, in a nutshell. The issue was, I think you all had common ground in the fact that given today's labor market and with inflation, that it is very difficult to find decent employees at $15 an hour. And you both agreed that that probably needs to be reconsidered and bumped up some. I don't think there was a number given, but it was, and it would be.
Yeah, I said it's fair to take a look at that.
And so that was said. And also you indicated that if you're looking, to have one in particular, it would be a tough sell to the fiscal court.
And it is fair to look at it, but here's another part of that conversation that we would have to take into account if we take that conversation up. let's just say hypothetically that we bump part-time hourly to 16 or 16.50, and we have full-time employees, possibly some on the sheriff's department. I know some in other departments that aren't even making that as full-time employees. Then, because you get to, and I appreciate this. I appreciate that the jailer is concerned about jail employees, and I appreciate that the sheriff is concerned about jail employees, and I appreciate that the clerk is concerned about clerk employees. But as the county judge, and I believe the magistrates would agree as members of the fiscal court, I'm concerned about the employees in every county department. And I'm not saying that the jailer and the sheriff and the clerk aren't concerned about employees in other departments, but I'm concerned about employees in every department, and I've said this till probably people are sick of hearing this. Every job is important, but all jobs aren't equal. The firefighters have a job. Do they do the same job as the guys in the road department? There's completely different jobs. Both jobs are important. The point being, it's going to be hard to push part-time hourly rates without getting full-time hourly rates increased also.
Might I interject for a second? Just what we've experienced at the jail is we're losing our full-time people to factories and whatnot because of the labor market. And we try to get those people to come back and work part-time hours because they're already trained and things like that. And they left because they weren't making enough money at the full-time rate, and it's hard to get them to come back. So what we end up doing is having to have full-time people work overtime. Now we're paying time and a half plus their package on top of it. So it's really, really costing us on our regular line item, not our part-time line item. It's just something the court needs to consider.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a fair conversation to have, but as Myron said, when we talked about the part-time, I think it really would hurt morale if you've got all the part-time down there making $15 an hour and they find out one guy's making 25. Even if it isn't, but just a small dollar amount a year, it still is, they're going to be saying, why aren't you paying me $25 an hour? If you're going to pay him $25 an hour, he's part-time, I'm part-time. I think it would be bad for the morale that way.
I don't think the jailer's asked for too much here. I mean, he's talking less than $4,000 and less than a $4 million budget. I hate to see this be something that the court and the jailer gets sideways over.
As I said to the jailer, this has nothing to do because, I'll just tell you what I told him, because there's a lot, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but here's the thing. Things get taken way personally sometimes. This has absolutely nothing to do with who this is, everything to do with what this is. And while in the grand scheme of a budget is $3,600, $4,000 any money, not really any money in the grand scheme of a budget, it's not about the dollar amount, it's about the principle of what we're doing. It's just about fairness. Unless someone's willing to make a motion to do otherwise, I think we're done with the discussion.
But we can go ahead, do we need it, well, did you say we need a motion for the consultants? That they're paying out of the commissary?
Or do we just hire them like we do any other employee?
Yeah, hire them like any other
Okay.
employee.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Also, Brent, you referenced termination letters on those contracts. Does our office have copies of those termination letters? Because we hold the
I
contract.
sent them to you to get them signed.
Yeah, I just got them yesterday, the last one, so we'll get them signed and get them to you. And also, Mason's got the copy of the CPC, and there's a place for you to initial next to the check mark and sign at the bottom, and if you'll get that to me, I will send it to them and get signed copies back.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, thank you.
All right, Bob, anything with emergency management? I could tell you were itching to get out of that chair.
I just want to follow up on something that you mentioned a little while ago about donations during disaster. What they really need is cash. The water donations, I think there's, this week yet, there's over 15 semi-loads of water coming in over there. If people want to gather things, water, gift cards, those types of things. What they don't need is people cleaning their closets out and trying to send all that stuff, because that, honestly, we witnessed it in Bowling Green.
The tornado.
And the other places that were affected by the tornado, and even further back when the tornadoes that I deployed to in 2012 in McGoffin County, those, while the gesture is welcome, the items that the people are trying to move is probably not the time specifically. I've been there myself. I've got stuff I'm not using, and we know that these people need it. But once it gets there, you pretty much have to set up a store and sort through all that stuff and get it so that people can come through and get it picked up and all that. And we're still looking for people. There's nobody to do this work. So I just wanted to reiterate that I think if you go on the state's website, you can find different places where you can donate monetarily. And they've probably got items listed that they do need, cleaning materials, water, and that kind of stuff. So I just want to urge people to give as much as they can, but make sure they're giving the right thing in this environment.
Thanks, Bob. Bill, anything with maintenance? That would have been called a balk in a baseball game. Anything fire department, Nelson? Bob, anything road department? Motion to adjourn? Motion by Marty, second by Nate. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed?